I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the continuing scandal that is rocking the world of hip-hop. P. Diddy is locked up accused of a series of sex crimes, and now another one of the legends of hip-hop has been accused of inappropriate sexual conduct in a civil suit. Jay-Z. Here's the story. The entertainment world was taken by surprise when one of the biggest stars in the world of hip-hop was arrested and charged with a series of offenses, including kidnapping, sex trafficking, and RICO. P. Diddy was first civilly sued, then criminally charged in New York. He's now locked up facing the potential of life behind bars. Meanwhile, the number of civil suits Diddy is facing continues to grow, but some of those cases include other unnamed celebrity defendants. And now one of them has been named, and he's bigger than Diddy. Beyonce's husband, Jay-Z, has been accused of committing the sexual assault of a minor with Diddy. Jay-Z has denied the allegations, but everyone is wondering, are there more accusers? And will more celebrities be named? It's the story and scandal that seems to be spiraling out of control, with A-listers accused of engaging in vile acts. It's a story that could completely change the landscape of hip-hop and the world of celebrity. Every time I do this story, it's shocking, but today, even more shocking. Now we are talking about Jay-Z. No criminal allegations. It's a civil lawsuit that has been filed that goes back in time. But I want to read for you some excerpts from Jay-Z's response to this suit, which was posted on Roc Nation's Facebook page. Take a look. My lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. It made me watch to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these type of games. We have very strict codes of honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake physics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me that, if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. I'm looking forward to showing you just how different I am. Powerful words from Jay-Z. Not the normal response that you get in a situation like this. It seemed very personal. Didn't seem like it was crafted by an attorney, I'll tell you that. So this brings us to the first question in our investigation, which is, what are the allegations against Jay-Z? That was his response. So what are the allegations against Jay-Z? And helping us analyze all this tonight, senior news reporter at the New York Post, Steve Helling, and actor, writer, media personality, Headcrack, also with us. Thank you both for being here. I want to go through a little bit of these allegations. September 7th is the date. 2000, at a VMA after party, then 13-year-old plaintiff was invited by a limousine driver who said she, quote, fit what Diddy was looking for. Recognized many celebrities at the party, observed marijuana and cocaine use, began to feel woozy and lightheaded after drinking some of the beverages given to her by a waitress. The plaintiff entered an empty bedroom to lie down for a moment. The room contained only a large bed, no other furniture. Now, let's get to some of the lawsuit allegations, and I'm going to read some quotes from the lawsuit. Soon after, Combs entered the room, along with defendant Carter and a female celebrity, Celebrity B. Carter is Jay-Z. Combs aggressively approached plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her and said, "You are ready to party." Combs then threw the plaintiff toward a wall, causing plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. Plaintiff was held down by Carter as he vaginally raped her while Combs and Celebrity B watched. After Carter finished, he stepped back toward the wall. Combs then stepped forward and vaginally raped plaintiff while Carter and Celebrity B watched. This is raw, this is vile. These are, again, these are allegations. He's denying all of it. Diddy is denying all of this. But let me start with you, Headcrack. Just your reaction that we are now talking about allegations against Jay-Z.
I was blown away when I first heard the allegations, and the more and more I lean into it, it just seems a little bit ridiculous. If you watch the psychological profile of Jay-Z, how he moves, he always distances himself from chaos and chaotic people. Now granted, you're showing mad pictures with him with P. Diddy right here. However, they are part of a money-making hip-hop trifecta, that sometimes includes, 50 Cent in that dynamic. But even 50 distanced himself from all of that. And I have a hard time believing that Jay-Z would put himself in that position. I really do.
Steve Helling, how about your reaction to the response from Jay-Z? It's an unusual response, right? We've covered stories like this through the years. It's rare that you get a response like that posted on Facebook.
I was really surprised that he didn't go through his lawyers. I'm really surprised that he didn't do something much more formal. But he was obviously angry. He was obviously pissed off. He obviously just wanted to say, no, I didn't do this, and this is why. And, you've messed with the wrong guy. I get why he did it, and I think it was effective, to be perfectly honest.
Let's listen to, I'm going to put up on the screen more of the lawsuits. Again, these are excerpts from the civil lawsuit. These are not criminal charges. Combs then knocked plaintiff down and attempted to force plaintiff to perform oral sex on him. She fought back, standing up quickly and punching out at the same time, hitting Combs in the neck. Taken aback, Combs stopped his attempt. When Combs backed away in surprise, plaintiff grabbed her clothes and shoes and ran out of the bedroom, holding her dress in front of her like a towel. She ran around the residence until she found the front door and was able to leave the party. Although there were other guests still at the party, no one appeared to take notice of plaintiff's distress or attempted to help her. Headcrack, how about your thoughts about the story itself? Now, the allegation is underage, like 13 years old, and is first scooped up by a limo driver.
Which also sounds wild in itself. I mean, listen, I don't know if you have any daughters. I only have sons, but if I had a daughter, I definitely wouldn't allow her to go to a MTV VMA after party or even be in that area. And for what I understand also too, in the statement that was given, it was her father that actually picked her up after she made a call when everything was all said and done. I don't know how most dads out there operate, but I will tell you one thing. If you violate my baby girl in any way whatsoever, it's going to be me that's behind bars in that situation. And I'm not going to wait 20 plus years to say something about it and do a civil suit. I'm going to do a criminal suit if that really truly happened. So the order of event, it just sounds cuckoo cuckoo. And even the way how Tony Busby goes about getting some of his clients, this is the same lawyer that put up the 1-800 number, right? Like, if you've been a victim of a Diddy party, call this number. And okay, you're gonna vet through some of those things, maybe push away the super outlandish ones, but not all those people that call those hotlines truly had something happen to them and have something to say. You see this happening all the time. Like, hey, if you've seen somebody, if you witnessed this crime, call this number, and you get all these tips from people that lead nowhere and just tie up time. This could be one of those situations. I just find it hard to fathom.
Steve Helling, do you think the reaction is different for Jay-Z in this first allegation as it was for Diddy and the first allegation against him. And we know the way the Diddy thing has now played out. What are your thoughts there, Steve?
Yeah, I do think it's different, and I think it's different mostly because, you know, we weren't very surprised to hear a lot of these allegations against Diddy. That's just kind of what we figured was going on. Jay-Z has managed to be much more clean-cut, much more above board, and I think the idea that he's being named in this is really shocking, especially when you figure that he's married to Beyonce. You know, he's got these daughters now, he's got kids, you know, so putting it all together, I think it's really surprising that his name is out there in this fashion. And, you know, kind of to echo what Headcrack said, I also feel like, you know, this isn't what we know about him. He's not a chaotic person. He's not somebody who thrives in that type of environment. So the idea that in 2000 he was doing this, it's a lot to swallow.
Yeah, Headcrack, let's follow up on that. Let's go back to 2000. And we know where, you know, Beyonce and Jay-Z are now, you know, how they're revered and respected by many as sort of icons in the business. Let's go back to 2000. Where was Jay-Z at that moment in time in the world of hip-hop, in the world of A-list celebrity?
A rapidly rising star. I mean, you go from his first album, Reasonable Doubt, in '96, then you come through with In My Lifetime, Volume 1. So by 2000, I think he had In My Lifetime, Volume 2 out, Hard Knock Life. Big records on there, getting ready to release the third one, The Dynasty, which I believe came out around that time. So definitely a big name, but, you know, by no stretch of the imagination was he completely an angel during his pocket of time, because he did get into a situation where he stabbed the dude over bootlegging some music. So, I mean, like, you know, that comes with the territory of that pocket of time. You know what I mean?
How much power and influence at that moment did he have? In terms of the business and celebrity? Was it, how would you sort of define that or describe that?
Even in 2000, Jay-Z was one of the biggest names in hip hop. You know what I mean? This is like right before he was about to do that head-to-head clash with Nas, that ran for a couple of years, and it got a lot of great records back and forth on that. I mean, Jay-Z's been a titan since 1999, arguably like 97. You know what I mean? Well, with the passing of Big. You know, when Big passed, it left a wide open lane. Jay-Z slid right in there, took the torch that, you know, they lit together and kept running.
And if we go back in time then, was the reputation there at that moment about these parties as well? And we did get Steve back. Steve, I'll go to you on that. Historically, like back in 2000, was that reputation there about these wild parties?
You know, I went to a few Diddy parties back in the day, and we always knew that at some point we were going to be expected to leave, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, there was always some sort of idea that these were these were glamorous parties for sure, but that stuff was going to happen, and that the average person wasn't going to be there for it.
All right, Steve Helling, Headcrack, staying with us. Coming up next, how close are Jay-Z and Diddy?
I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed.
You will see the evidence, you will hear the arguments, and ultimately you will hear the verdict.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Vanity.
I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. And as is always the case in situations like this, when a celebrity is involved, people can be downright mean and nasty.
That's Tony Busby. He's the plaintiff's attorney who is filing these lawsuits. And wow, he's talking about big names. Does it get much bigger than going after P. Diddy and now going after Jay-Z as well? So those are the first two names. There may be more, but this brings me to my next question in our investigation. how close are Jay-Z and Diddy? Because the allegations have them in the same room at the same time, assaulting the same 13-year-old girl. You're not going to do that with a stranger necessarily. Again, just allegations that are being denied by both Jay-Z and Diddy. But what is their relationship? Still with us, Steve Helling and Headcrack. Headcrack, how would you describe their relationship? Professional, personal?
I mean, they've done stuff together musically. They've, cross-pollinated in very different ways, throughout time. And I think when you get to a point where you're like that type of a mogul, you know what I mean, where you're involved in that many businesses, you look around and you look at your peers. Who else is doing similar things that I'm doing? So of course you're gonna click up with people who have things outside of just the main venture in which you met in, which was music. They both have dealings in alcohol. They both have dealings in fashion. They both have dealings in entertainment. So of course you're gonna cross paths and you're gonna like go towards the most familiar face in the room a lot of times, especially if you two black men, operating in a space that's predominantly white. So like, yeah, so I think they're probably industry close. Do they call each other on their birthdays? I don't know. Don't know them like that. But I could see how they would click up.
Yeah, Steve Helling, your thoughts about the nature of their relationship and the closest. And the reason I'm saying this is because sometimes in situations like this, if in fact, and we're nowhere near close to that, but if this somehow evolves into a criminal investigation and a criminal case and your co-defendants, we're in a different space. Are they close enough that they would stick together versus turn on each other? That's not the case necessarily in the civil world. But Steve, what's your understanding? Is there any sort of a true personal friendship, or is it, respect, mutual billionaires and professional colleagues?
Well, to answer the first part, no, I don't think that if they were both criminal defendants that they would stick together. I don't think that's what would happen. I do think that, this is more of a professional type of thing. It's a work friend, pretty much. It's different type of work than our work friends would be. But yeah, I don't look at this and think that Jay-Z is going to go down with Diddy just out of some sort of loyalty or friendship. Of course not. That's not what's going to happen here. And so, as we look at this and we see where this is going to go, and I don't think it can go to a criminal case right now. I just don't see that ever happening. I think right now it's every man for themselves. And, obviously, if you look at the statement that Jay-Z put out, he certainly didn't say, and my friend Diddy is innocent too. He didn't do that.
Yeah, and the reason I mentioned the criminal is because of the way the case against Diddy started. It started as a civil suit. Federal investigators used that civil suit as a roadmap for their criminal investigation. Headcrack, do we know where either one of them, whether it's Jay-Z or Diddy, if they were speaking out during the big Me Too flare-up that we had several years back? Did either one of them kind of come out and say, yeah, we need to believe accusers?
That's a very good question. I don't recall hearing their voice during that time, but that's not to say that they didn't, Steve, do you remember if they were on the map at that point? A lot of people were speaking out. Some were very silent. Some just avoided it. Do you recall either Jay-Z or P. Diddy being any part of any conversation about the Me Too movement?
I don't remember anything like that. And that seems like something that if Diddy had done it, I think I probably would have remembered, and I don't remember that. So if he did, he certainly didn't do it very forcefully, not forcefully enough for anybody to remember that. And I also feel like at this point somebody would have brought it up, and I haven't heard anything of that sort.
All right, Headcrack, the one thing I notice in pop culture is and in the law and everything swings back and forth, right? Me Too, it swung all the way one way. From what you're seeing and what you're hearing from viewers and listeners and everything else, where do you think we are in terms of accusers in this space, whether it's Diddy or Jay-Z? Is there more of a skepticism today, less of a skepticism, or are we kind of where we've been?
I think it varies from case to case. I mean, like, he was saying a little while ago when, the allegations about Diddy came out, no one was like, oh my God, I don't believe this. No one said that. When you get somebody like a Jay-Z or something like this, you get reasonable doubt, like his first album. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of doubt there that he would be involved. I feel like everybody who's been in a space of being a victim deserves to tell this story. But there also needs to be something activated in the space of the law that when people come through with fraudulent, accusations and stories for the sake of getting some money, something needs to happen to them legally as well, because a lot of times they make accusations against people who have who have everything to lose, and the accuser has nothing to lose, whatsoever. Like, what if it gets found out that this person is lying and then this costs Jay-Z the NFL gig that he has, or, puts a wedge between him and his wife? I mean, you see it happen all the time. But then there's also those occasions where someone truly was telling the truth and a monster has been exposed. So let's expose the monsters and let's get the liars out of the way and get them in the light too.
Head crack, Steve Helling, great to see you both tonight. Thank you so much. Coming up, will there be more celebrities named?
Greater.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the sex scandal rocking the world of celebrity and hip-hop. First it was P. Diddy, and now Jay-Z is facing some explicit allegations going back 2 decades. Here's the story. It's the story that continues to grow and continues to get bigger and bigger. First, P. Diddy was sued in civil court, accused of engaging in horrific acts of sexual violence. Then his homes were raided. Then he was criminally charged with offenses that could land him in prison for the rest of his life. All the while, the rumors circulated about other big celebrities who could be named. Now, another shocking revelation from a shocking civil suit accusing hip-hop legend Beyoncé's husband, Jay-Z, of sexually assaulting a minor with Diddy. Jay-Z has denied the allegations, but the story continues to grow, and everyone is wondering, who is next? The story is getting bigger, and now that Jay-Z has been named, one of the issues I'm thinking about in my mind is going back to how everything evolved with Diddy. And Diddy started with a civil suit, turned into a criminal investigation. And it was a criminal investigation based upon RICO, right? Racketeering, which was a way to bring in older allegations into a newer criminal complaint. Now, I have no idea if there's any allegations like that associated with Jay-Z, but keeping an eye on it, obviously, and for obvious reasons, because the allegations here are horrific. Let's take a listen to the plaintiff's attorney who's making these allegations. His name is Tony Busby. He's a plaintiff's attorney out of Texas. Here he is.
There are many people and many entities involved, and we're going to follow this evidence wherever it takes us. We will find the silent accomplices. We will expose the enablers who enabled this conduct behind closed doors. We will pursue this matter no matter who the evidence implicates.
No matter who the evidence implicates. And again, the allegations involving Diddy go over years, right? And remember, when his home was raided, there was talk of videos and other evidence like that. I don't know what, if any of that exists. But where are we in all of this, right? Where are we? Who else could be involved? And that brings me to our next question in our investigation. And will there be more celebrities named? I mean, you've got two of the biggest right here, Diddy and Jay-Z. It's difficult to get much bigger than that. But will there be more celebrities named in all of this? Joining me, actor, writer, media personality, Headcrack is with us. I listened to Tony Busby, and it just seems like another shoe is going to drop. Like the way I see it, plaintiff's attorney is going to start with a letter, right, before a suit is filed, before a name is named. And then if there is no negotiation back and forth, then another name comes out. Do you expect to hear other names drop here, celebrities?
Absolutely. I'm surprised we didn't get more names sooner. Because, I mean, when you think about the level and caliber of people that probably have, access to this type of celebrity, they got the money to move around. The same things that people were worried about Diddy doing, fleeing the country, laying low till this all blows over. I think a lot of people that possibly could be named also have that same ability. And, I'm in a space like time and do that where you know what they said that you did and let them tell on each other. And so you could really get down to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? Don't give people time to run.
Also joining me now, blogger, columnist, and media personality, Perez Hilton. Perez, thanks so much for joining us. What are your thoughts? Do you think you got Diddy, huge, Jay-Z, bigger? Will there be more celebrities named in all of this?
Absolutely. Because I think now that Jay-Z has come forward involuntarily against his will, because Tony Busby, attorney, in November, accusing him of extortion and a shakedown. I think because Jay-Z has been outed, some of the other celebrities that Tony Busby has reached out to will perhaps sue him as well.
Fascinating, right? I want to put this up because this is from the Jay-Z Diddy suit and allegations. This is again from the lawsuit. Soon after Combs entered the room along with defendant Carter, who's Jay-Z, and a female celebrity, Celebrity B, plaintiff immediately recognized all three celebrities. This goes back to 2000. So, Headcrack, do you think that Celebrity B will be named, a female celebrity who didn't physically take part in the alleged assault, but was there and was watching?
Hey, man, if you're in a car with people who are doing a crime and the driver and the passenger get arrested, if you're in the back seat, you're with them too. So I would imagine that this person at some point should be named and they should be concerned.
Perez, we go back to 2000. I don't know who's in whose circle of being, but at that point, Jay-Z is not with Beyonce, right? That precedes all of that, 2000.
Correct, but Diddy at the time was, if I remember correctly, that was before he and Jennifer Lopez broke up. I'm not saying the woman in question was Jennifer Lopez. I'm just saying it could be. And I do find it very interesting that Jennifer Lopez has remained so silent about anything Diddy related. If I was advising her, I would have definitely suggested a while ago that she release some kind of statement saying she had no idea that Diddy was engaging in this kind of behavior, that her heart goes out to the victims, to the women that have come forward. If she doesn't want to use the word victims, her heart goes out to the women that have come forward. She hasn't done that. She's remained so tight-lipped about everything Diddy, and I get it. They broke up a very long time ago. She shouldn't have to pay for the mistakes he made, but at a certain point, her silence becomes deafening, I believe.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned the silence of Jennifer Lopez. Now I'm remembering the first trial I covered on Court TV, 2001, New York City, Diddy and the gun case. That trial was all about when is J-Lo going to show up and what is she going to say? Because the limo driver saying the gun belonged to Diddy, Diddy's side is saying the gun belonged to the limo driver, and J-Lo was there as well. But she remained completely silent. She wasn't called by the prosecution. She wasn't called by the defense, and she said nothing at the time. Headcrack, do you expect we'll ever hear anything from J-Lo on any of this?
Absolutely not. Like, J-Lo is about preserving J-Lo and keeping J-Lo's ball pushing, because the thing is, J-Lo was the only person that could have kept Shine from going to prison, because there was a lot of people who was like, that's not the only person who had a gun that night, and that's not the person who shot that woman in the face that night. And J-Lo was hands off the whole situation. So I think there's a lot of, maybe, I don't want to say guilt, but the burden of information sometimes when knowing right with the, and you don't want to really get in the mix of that, because that's going to bring your star down, and you already got enough on your plate that you're dealing with right then and there. So I don't think she ever going to say nothing.
So Perez, how would you gauge the list of A-listers who may have been at some of these parties through the years? Are they scared? Are they wondering, or do you think that they already know that they're on some list that this plaintiff's attorney has?
The question isn't who went to a Diddy party. The question is who didn't go to a Diddy party. He was known for the parties he threw. However, what the federal prosecutors allege are not wrongdoings that happen at these larger scale events that he would throw at his homes across the United States, but what went down at these freak-offs with people against their will. And I'm not even sure if this one case with Jay-Z, I'm not certain of the validity of those claims. It could be true, it could not be true. But Cassie, in her lawsuit against Diddy, which really got the ball rolling with everything, she didn't mention any other celebrities. She just mentioned professional S workers, hired companions, if you will. And that's been levied against Diddy, transportation of adult lines. So it's possible that no other celebrities were involved in these freak-offs. And then it's also possible that they were. I'm sure a good lawyer would say, as Diddy's lawyer has said repeatedly, that all of these interactions were consensual, and they could argue, I because they have evidence. It would be much harder to prosecute people that they don't have compelling evidence against.
Okay, we have about a minute left here, so 30 seconds each to answer this same question. And I'll start with you, Headcrack. Do you think this is the beginning of people coming out against Jay-Z, or do you think this is actually the end of it?
I think you're going to probably hear a lot of weird stories come out between point A and point B, some things that are maybe in the same space, some things that are in a different space. Like anybody who's been on the internet, you've heard stories about like, Foxy Brown was young when they used to date, or like, how old Beyonce when they really got together, So they're going to try to paint a picture, and, will that picture stick? It's hard to say. So, I guess as they say, time will reveal.
What are your thoughts, Perez? Is this the end of it, like one and done, or do you think there's going to be several women or a lot of women coming forward relative to Jay-Z?
I think what's going to happen now is a magnifying glass is going to go over all of the rumors that have already gone very viral, but the mainstream media. There's even been a rumor that Jay-Z had an ex-girlfriend of his that he was cheating on Beyonce with murdered. I don't believe that to be true, but conspiracy theorists and the rumors that have been around in the past are going to gain traction again, and we'll see if any of those many end up being real or not.
All right, I was just given extra time. So I have one more question again for both of you. And I'll start with Head Crack. What are your thoughts about where the world of social media is going to go on this? It's turned on Diddy, but where's it going to go?
Oh, it's a bloodbath out there. I was reading comments, when the story broke yesterday, and there's a lot of people was like, I knew it, or Jaguar Wright was right. There's a lot of people for whatever reason are not Jay-Z fans and have not been Jay-Z fans for a long time. I know people who refused to subscribe to Tidal because he was behind it, and they had the way more superior sound and paid artists better, but they just didn't want to align themselves with them. So I think sometimes when you get high enough on a pedestal, it's so much easier to pick up rocks and throw them at you and try to take you down because for whatever reason, they just don't rock with the person that's on top. And, I see some people like, rooting for his downfall, and I see some people saying, this is preposterous, and we're cheering for him. You know what I mean? Or we don't believe none of this. So we'll see what happens once they, vet all these allegations.
Absolutely. Perez, like 15 seconds. What are your thoughts? How's this gonna play social media?
Well, we've already seen it over the last, couple of days that social media has not been on Jay-Z's side, but he doesn't care. He is retired. He's going about business as usual. He showed up after being named in this lawsuit alongside Diddy. He went to the premiere of The Lion King. Like, oh, no big deal. What allegation? I'm going to be here supporting my wife and my daughter that's also in the movie.
Perez, Hilton, and Head Crack, appreciate your time. Thank you both so much. Great to see you. All right, when we come back, does Jay-Z need a criminal defense attorney?
This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be.
Coming soon to Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell.
She said, I will have you destroyed.
She's got another murder trial coming up.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
We will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
Sean Diddy Combs arrested on a federal indictment.
The high-stakes trials you don't want to miss. Coming soon. Only on Court TV.
That's your future.
This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that. A year ago, Shawn Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
That's the prosecutor, the U.S. attorney who was leading the charge against Diddy. I think he's left office, by the way. But let me put this up on the screen because now we're talking about Jay-Z. This is an excerpt from Jay-Z's response posted on Rock Nation Facebook page. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you agree? These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. And again, the allegations are that Diddy and Jay-Z forcibly sexually assaulted and raped a 13-year-old. So that brings us to a next question in our investigation, which is, does Jay-Z need a criminal defense attorney? Right? He's saying, hey, if this is true, it's a crime, you should charge me. Joining me to help us work through all this, criminal defense attorney and special prosecutor in Texas, Brian Weiss. Brian, great to see you tonight. Let me ask you, does Jay-Z need a criminal defense attorney?
Absolutely, Chaluch. Make no mistake. Having a criminal defense attorney in this situation is like having the insurance policy that you hope you never need to cash in, but you're awfully glad that you do. I've seen so many high-profile defendants go forth in what could initially be a civil matter that eventually reaches DEFCON 1 as a criminal matter, and they're jammed up because they didn't have somebody by their side early on. Make no mistake, Vinny, Alex Spiro is, as they say in the mob, a made guy. He made his bones in the Manhattan DA's office prosecuting the dating game killer. He's somebody who's represented all manner of high-profile defendants in civil cases, but he's also done it well in the criminal form. He's represented Alec Baldwin. He walked him out of the courtroom in New Mexico in the Rust manslaughter prosecution. He was part of the Robert Kraft defense team in Florida for the solicitation case. And he represents, perhaps most famously of all, New York City Mayor Eric Adams in his ongoing federal indictment. Being able to be the kind of civil litigator that Alex is, combined with his criminal experience, is like being Shohei, going both ways and doing it well.
So how does this work? Civil cases, there are depositions. You have to sit down. You have to answer questions hours at a time. But it's a case and allegations that could potentially lead to some criminal charges. I know there's statute of limitations issues as well, because these things go back years. But we saw what they did in the Diddy investigation with the RICO, creating charges involving or alleging a criminal enterprise. So is there some danger here for Jay-Z?
You know what I learned, Vin? You can never go wrong agreeing with the host. You're absolutely right. Look, we saw what happened in Diddy, but I've also seen it in other cases. Why? Because sometimes investigators on the civil side have the time and the energy and the bandwidth to do the kind of investigation that sometimes law enforcement is unable or unwilling to undertake. You never know what it is that the Southern District prosecutors have at their disposal. Look, anybody who's ever binge watched Billions knows there's a reason they're called the Sovereign District. The prosecutors in that office in Foley Square are the baddest, boldest, and best at what they do. They are quite literally the toughest kids in the schoolyard. And you don't know what it is that they have at their disposal. And make no mistake, the U.S. attorney, who I don't think has resigned quite yet, but will likely be replaced, has made it clear, we don't care who you are, we don't care what you do. If you've done something wrong, you can run, but you can't hide, Vin.
All right, you've got about 15 seconds here, Brian. What is your prediction as to how this goes for Jay-Z? Is this just one civil suit? Is he going to be able to get it dismissed, or is this a problem?
I think that when his head hits the pillow tonight, Jay-Z needs to be concerned with who's on the other side. Alex Sparrow's a great lawyer, but so is Tony Busby. Tony Busby's the guy that you want watching your back in a rumble. Forget about Riff and Bernardo. He is the real deal. And there's a saying in East Texas that a lot of lawyers have a lion's mouth and a hummingbird's behind. That means they won't go to trial. Tony Busby will. And by the time I think he gets through with Jay-Z, Jay-Z's going to be like a hitchhiker in a West Texas hailstorm, Ben. He can run, he can't hide, and he can't make it stop.
Brian Weiss, thanks so much. Great to see you. You know, it's difficult to put the gravity of these allegations into perspective. You have to begin with the two men being accused, billionaires who practically built the world of hip-hop and took it mainstream, Diddy and Jay-Z. Then the allegations that are so horrific and beyond anyone's sense of decency. But right now, Diddy and Jay-Z are in two different boats. Diddy's locked up and may never be free. Jay-Z's being sued for money and says he's going to fight it. The future's dim for Diddy, but Jay-Z can literally buy his way out. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.